All right, let's talk about rock bottom. If you hear any yelling in the background, it's just the mechanic. There's a bunch of people working back here. So I was gonna do a video about um, politics, like the right and the left, and why I don't align myself with either one, and why I don't think anyone else should either. But I'll save that for another day. I don't feel like tackling something controversial right now. So, um, uh, so let's talk about rock bottom now. you know, Nobody wants to be at rock bottom. But here's the thing, it's actually a great place to be. And that may sound stupid, but I'm going to explain it to you. Now, the reason rock bottom is actually a really good place to be is because the nature of reality is just ups and downs. So when you are at the bottom, there's literally nowhere to go but up. And that is coming soon because nothing lasts forever. Um, What's that saying? No storm lasts forever. It's just not possible. It's not how physics works. It's not how quantum physics works. Nothing is constant. Everything changes. So when you're at rock bottom, you're actually in a very fortunate place because things are about to get a lot better. Now, I spent a long time at rock bottom, and it wasn't just a steady baseline rock bottom torture hell. There's um good things still happen and fortunate things still happen, and you do get a little room to breathe occasionally. But from from the first day I was homeless until about for the next few years was, I consider, rock bottom the whole time. They, like I said, I got some breaks in there where things would get I'd make a bunch of money one day and I could have a little breathing room for a little while. But for the most part, life was brutal. I ended up addicted to heroin, which is a long story. I've got, I'm not sure if I think I did explain how exactly that happened in one of my previous videos. But so right before I lifted off of rock bottom, here's the thing: when things are going bad and people are thinking like they're a million miles away from where they want to be, the first step to take really is to kind of just be calm and be at peace with whatever is happening. Because if you're not thinking right, you can things are not going to improve. So you know you got to align yourself. There's fucking mosquitoes everywhere around here. Um, the best ideas I ever had came when I was not completely like um in a negative headspace. Now, so what it comes down to is you got to kind of make the best of whatever the situation is. And if you are thinking in kind of a positive way and it ain't going to last forever. Jesus, I am sweating so much. I mean, it's like 100 degrees right now. And I can't really open the back door because then you're going to like hear a lot more of the background. So, here's the thing. It's like, think about water when it's disturbed, you can't really see through it. You can't see clearly. You know what I mean? When that water is calm, you're gonna see right through it. And this is like how the mind works too. So if your mind is all rattled and going nuts, like rough water, you're not gonna be able to receive the information you need from your subconscious mind or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? So, um, once you kind of calm everything down, ideas will come to you. So I couldn't even tell you exactly. So the thing that got me off of rock bottom was when I started doing portraits. I Before I was doing portraits, I was doing this dollar joke thing. Um, which didn't make a whole lot of money. And it got to the point where I even hated doing it. I wasn't even doing new jokes anymore. I was just doing the same jokes because I wanted to make my money. It turned into this grind of a job, and it was not paying much. Even on If I went super duper hard day and night, I could make a couple of $100. But you cannot go super duper hard all day, all night, 24/7. You can't do it. So it got to the point where I was just showing up, doing the bare minimum, getting my money and leaving. I didn't enjoy it one bit, and I wasn't making a lot of money. I was barely getting by. So then I couldn't tell you exactly. I just I guess in the back of my mind I always had this idea about doing bad portraits where because in my opinion if you want to succeed in whatever you're doing, you got to do something, especially in artistic endeavors, you got to be a little different. If you're a little different, that's how you succeed with art and performance and stuff like that. So I felt it was a brilliant idea, but um, you know, there's something where I don't know. Sometimes I'm just scared to do something new. So I had this idea in my head for a long time, and then finally, I believe it was right around January of 2016. I said, you know what? Instead of just doing my dollar joke thing, I'm gonna put up another sign that says "Bad Portraits" for $5, and if anyone does it, I'll make as much in a couple of minutes as I would telling five jokes. I was only charging $1 to tell my jokes, so I put the sign out there, and I wasn't expecting much, but someone came up and got a joke for me. They were English people. I'll never forget the first portrait I did. They were from England, and he goes, he, I tell the joke, they chuckle, they give me the buck, they go, you know what? We'll have one of your shit portraits too. It said bad portraits, but he's like, just draw my wife. He's like, I'll give you $5. I said, all right. I was nervous. I was afraid. I, now it's nothing to me. I draw people. It takes me 5 minutes. This one took me like a half hour. I was trying to make it so perfect. And, even though the sign said bad portraits, I just drew this little cartoon version of his wife. I made her look cute. She was cute. She was an attractive woman. Um, and they were happy as hell with it. And I was excited because I didn't know if they were going to be like, "Oh, this isn't worth $5 to give me my." I didn't know. I had never done it before, but they were hyped for it. And so then, um, I think I may have even gotten a couple of others off at that point, and that's when you know you're on the right track when shit just starts kind of clicking. So then I started taking it serious. I started buying nicer pens and pencils to draw with. I like those Copic pens because you can replace the tips. The Micron ones are good too, but they're disposable. I don't like disposable stuff. I like quality stuff. So the Copic makes really good drawing pens, in my opinion. Those are the ones I use. Um, and so, you know, I started getting portraits here and there along with the joke thing. All of a sudden, my money's getting a lot better, and I'm feeling a lot better. I had been broke for so long that even this extra 10, $20 a day was making a huge difference for me. But I also felt deep down that if you just switch to portraits and get rid of that dollar joke thing, you're going to make a lot more money. This is what I was thinking deep down. But that dollar joke thing had kept me alive for so long. It was like this life raft that I did not want to let go of. I was afraid to let go of it. And so finally, a couple of months in, I was thinking to myself, just try it. Just leave the portrait sign out. Don't bring the joke sign and see what happens. I think it was September because I remember the weather was beautiful that day. And there was also some stupid protest or something was happening in Manhattan on the Upper West Side to where I didn't know this until I got out there without the dollar joke sign. Had I known it was going to be a weird day like this, I would have brought the dollar joke sign too because I didn't want to take any risks on a day like this. But anyways, I take the train down from the Bronx and I'm down there and I realize there's some sort of bullshit happening on the Upper West Side, which is going to affect business in the park. But I'm like, I'm here now. I am not spending another $3 to go back uptown, get my other sign, and come back. I was like, that's a fucking waste of time and a waste of money. So I'm gonna just set it up. I go out there, I set up the little portrait sign, and I'm not thinking much is gonna happen because due to the parade, or I forget, it was a protest or a parade or something was happening. There was less traffic in the park, but right within a half hour of me setting my sign up, this young couple walks by and they're like, "Will you draw the both of us?" They're like, "We'll give you $10." I'm like, "Okay, yeah." And I do the portrait whole day. I'm killing it, even though the park is dead, and I'm making more money than I had in a single day in years since I had a job. Like I was actually making normal money now to where like if I had a job, I'd be making this type of money. I'm talking, I probably made about 60, 70 bucks that day. You got to realize I'm used to making 40, 50 on a good day. So I tell you what, I felt like someone just unshackled me and set me free or something. I couldn't even put it into words. I was ecstatic. I couldn't believe it. Um, I usually when I go to Chipotle, I order a burrito because it's big and it's gonna fill me up. But I was so hyped up this day and I felt so rich. I got the three tacos from Chipotle, which is the same price as a burrito, but I believe less food because I eat the three tacos at once. The burrito, I can't eat that all at once. I eat twice off of that. So I was so psyched up and I felt so rich. And I was right. My life changed from that moment on. I had a lot more money from that moment on. So I just was, I couldn't be more grateful. I felt like I had just survived through a war or something. You got to realize for years, up until this point, I was broke, broke. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even understand how broke I was. I was my plan with the dollar joke thing was to starve myself into street performance stand up comedy because I feel that I can pull a crowd on the street and do my stand up. My stand up sharp, and I'll kill that crowd and I'll make a lot of money. And I'd be in Times Square contemplating this, and some magician would appear. Well, not like appear, but they'd come up and they'd pull a crowd so quick and so easy, something I could never do. And I'd be like, what the hell? Why is it that he can do that and I can't? I was just too shy to do it. I couldn't do it. To this day, I've never succeeded at doing it, although I'm still working on it. But so what I ended up doing was stand up comedy on the train because I was like, all right, the crowd's already pulled for me in the train. I just got to do my stand up. And I ended up doing that and making some money doing it, but the problem with that is you're forcing your performance on people who are locked in a train car. It's just not a pleasant thing to do. It's you don't know it till you do it, but yeah, I could make money doing it. Not a whole lot. There's only very specific spots on the New York City subway system where you can even pull it off because you need enough time to do a bit of a set and you need a little mic, you need a little amp. It's not simple, but I ended up getting it done. My buddy Stu helped me in a major way to get that done. But so I hated doing it. That was the thing. I would do it on the rainy days when I couldn't do the dollar joke thing outside, and I'd make more money doing it. But I hated doing it. It was like it just was not a positive experience. Um, Most of the people on the train were annoyed by it, but the ones who weren't would tip me. So, but I was thinking to myself, I don't want to be forcing my stand up on people. So I did it as little as possible. And so I was stuck doing the dollar joke thing. Um, but once I started doing the portraits, man, it was like night and day. My life changed instantly, and all of a sudden I was making a lot of money. Now, you also got to realize I was renting a room in the Bronx with it was a weird thing where I got hooked up with the room, and I was just getting very cheap rent. But here's the problem: the person I was living with, we didn't like each other. We couldn't stand each other. At first, we were friends, but there's people out here in this world you just cannot you can't get along with them because here's the thing: when you're nice to them, they take it as weakness and they take it as they can steal from you. So at first I was trying to be nice to this guy, and I'm grateful for the lessons this guy taught me. It's not like I hate his guts or anything. I wouldn't want to live with him again, but he taught me a lot of valuable lessons as far as you got to have boundaries. I've always tried to be a very peaceful, nice person. Um, and this dude taught me that that ain't gonna work with some people. He would do things like steal coffee filters that I put out there for just everyone to use. And you got to realize I'm broke at this time. So when I go out there to make my coffee and there's no filters, and I just bought them 2 days ago. There's 300 of them. I'm like, is this motherfucker for real? He's gonna steal them to where I can't use them. So we started having all these confrontations, and eventually we actually went at it and fought with our hands. And then he pulled a butcher knife on me, and I'm like, I I can't stay with this dude because sooner or later one of us is gonna get killed. I don't think he was gonna be the one doing the killing, to be 100% honest. Not to make myself out to be some sort of badass, but I work out every day. He doesn't. I'm smart. He's dumb. So like it, it I wasn't concerned about losing a fight then. Um, but you don't want to live with someone who and he's the type of dumb person who's going to keep acting like an idiot and thinking he'll just pull a butcher knife. You know what I mean? So you can't be around someone like that. You just can't, unless you want to be driven straight out of your mind to the point where you end up in jail for the rest of your life. There's people out there like that. They you can't be peaceful with them. All they understand is violence. All you can do with people like that is be more violent than them or get away from them. But that's not what this video is about. So I came to the conclusion that I'm ditching this apartment. I don't want to live in the Bronx for the rest of my life anyway. I can, you know, it, whether I'm homeless or not, I am going to be making a lot of money because I, I was doing the portrait thing. So I waited until spring of 2017, and up until that point, I pretty much ignored my roommate. I made it clear I was like, bro, I'm leaving in the spring, so let's just be civil to each other until then. Don't be out in the kitchen making a bunch of noise when you know I'm trying to sleep. And so he was playing along with it. He was being peaceful. And a strange thing happened to me, and he was trying to get me to stay because I think he realized that whoever was coming in there was going to be worse than me. Because I'm not a hard roommate to deal with. I clean up after myself. I don't make a bunch of noise. I don't steal and shit. So towards the end, he was actually trying to be like friends with me again. I'm like, that's fine. We can be civil. But I'm leaving. I'm not staying here, bro. If I had decided to stay there, he would have just turned right back into an impossible asshole to deal with because he's just a dumb guy. You know, the type of motherfucker who's been going back and forth to jail his whole life, robbing people and doing nasty shit his whole life. So I just didn't want to have a person like that in my life anymore. And the other thing was his brother was another idiot just like him. I couldn't stand either of them. So, you know, he was trying to get me to stay. So, um, but I was dead set. He was like, "What are you're just gonna go be homeless?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "That's fucking insane." He's like, "You got a room here," and I was getting a good price, but I didn't care. I couldn't live with this guy anymore. You know what I mean? I was listening to deep inside me. So rock bottom, real. I hit rock bottom while I had an apartment, while I was even in an apartment. When I ditched the apartment, I had lifted off from rock bottom. When I was out on the street for the second time now, but I was doing the portraits now, not the dollar joke thing. And the other thing is, when I'm in Manhattan 24/7 and I'm not coming from the Bronx, as soon as I wake up in the morning, I go get my coffee at McDonald's. I'm out there doing portraits by 10 a.m. And so when you're working like that and you're on it every day, I mean 7 days a week, I never took a day off unless the weather was so bad I had to. So you know, when you're working that consistently and every day, my money was going way up. I could have rented another room or something, but I didn't. I didn't want to. I didn't want to put a bunch of bills on myself, and then come the winter, if I can't keep up with the rent and shit. The only thing I could afford would be in the gutter areas of New York City, like deep in Queens, where it's going to take me so long to get out to Manhattan that it's going to it's going to cost me a lot more than just the rent. You know what I mean? And then same with the Bronx. And here's another thing about the Bronx. My where I was living in the Bronx, a whole gang war popped off. Pretty much was right when I left. So it's like even though you're not a target in that type of situation, you could catch a stray. You never know what the fuck's gonna happen. So I was thinking to myself, I'm not renting a room anywhere until I can afford to rent one in a place where I don't got to deal with all this bullshit. Um, it, Here's the main problem with the ghetto type areas in New York City. It's not the other people, because when you live in the area, nobody bothers with you because everyone, you know everyone, yeah, at least by sight. You know what I mean? So the real problem is you're so far out on the subway line that getting into Manhattan is a pain in the ass, and it takes a long time. So that's really how rent works in New York City. The closer you are to Manhattan, the more expensive it's going to get. If you want cheap rent, you got to go out to the shittier parts of Long Island, like bordering on Queens, which these are not good areas where even if you do live there, if you're coming home late night, which sometimes would happen with me, you could end up getting yourself into trouble because there's lunatics out there at night who they'll take someone's life for $5. This is how dumb. There's just some really stupid people out there. So I was just like, I'm gonna just stay in Manhattan, even though I'm gonna be homeless. I'm pretty good at it at this point. I stayed clean enough to where I could go in and eat whatever I wanted. I could, I was well behaved enough to where I could go charge my phone in Starbucks every day, and they didn't treat me like a homeless person because, I mean, I would tip them occasionally on a cup of coffee, but they liked me in there because the other thing I did in there was I regulated it somewhat. When there was really annoying homeless people in there, I would get into it with them. It's like, and I wasn't even doing it for the place. I was doing it because I felt that they were fucking my situation up. So if if there's some homeless person in there setting up like it's a shelter, I'd say things to them. I'd be like, yo, why don't you go stay in a shelter? I'd start off civil, and because I'd be like, you know, I'm homeless too. You don't see me inconveniencing everyone else with it. Like, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? So they kind of like me in that Starbucks because when people were truly unruly in there, I'd say something to them. The workers didn't even have to say shit; they'd be bothering me. So I'd be like, "Yo, man, what the fuck are you doing?" Um, so, but yeah, the whole thing with rock bottom is it's a blessing. It's a blessing in disguise. There's nowhere to go but up. So, you know, don't sit there in a negative frame of mind thinking you're never going to be able to fix it. I couldn't tell you how many I couldn't tell you how many times when I was homeless and broke and thinking to myself, how long is this going to last? I didn't know. It could have lasted the rest of my life for all I knew. And there was times where I thought it would, but I can tell you from experience, nothing lasts forever. Sooner or later, things are going to get better. So while you're there at rock bottom, think of the bright future ahead because things are about to get a lot better. And here's the other upside to it. When things get better, you appreciate everything so much more because you've experienced all this hardship. I couldn't, even nowadays, to this day still, I eat every day. I appreciate my food more than most people do. And in my opinion, when you appreciate your food like that and like, you're subconsciously grateful for it. It makes the food healthier, I believe. When you have this positive attitude towards things, you're actually feeding it energy. You know what I mean? This is it, ask anyone who grows plants. The people who really know what they're doing are projecting positive energy into those plants. Now, I do the same thing with my food, but I do it subconsciously because I've spent so much time starving. You know what I mean? So, I believe me and some other person could be eating the same exact thing, but my body is going to pull more nutrients out of it and it's going to be healthier for me because subconsciously I'm grateful for it. This is a lot of the things traditionally are actually good. We're taught in the modern world, oh, don't pray. It's a stupid thing to do. God isn't real, this and that. The reason they were praying for their food, it wasn't, it's putting this positive energy into it. It's being grateful for it, which that's my theory. You know what I mean? Anyways, I guess that's about enough for this video. I'm actually going out of town for the weekend. So, um, a buddy of mine is in town and he rented a house up in some part of. I'm gonna go stay there for a night or two, and then I'll be back here. So the I'm not leaving till like 5 p.m. Friday. So I'll get the Patreon video is gonna go up early on Friday. Um, I did stand up last night. I gotta say, we all killed that place. It was such a good night. The list was short. A lot of comedians didn't even sign up for it. So I was thinking, oh, it's going to be dead tonight. I get there. The place is mobbed. I go up first. I do good. Next guy does good. The first like seven, eight comedians killed the place. We were killing the place. It went really good. Um, but so, uh, but yeah, the Patreon video is going to go up early. Usually I end up spending all day on it. I'm not going to be able to do that tomorrow. I'm going to have to get started on it early tomorrow because I got to get it up by like 5 p.m. Today's Thursday. All right, so this video is going to go up. Oh, I got to put up another Red Dead Redemption playthrough tonight too. It's getting it. I'm getting to the more interesting parts of that game now where they're not holding my hand anymore. The first couple of hours of that game, it's mostly tutorials. They're just holding your hand and teaching everything. But it's about to get real interesting over there, where I'm about to be getting into a lot more shootouts and shit like that. Anyways, so if you want to check that out, that's on my other channel. I'll link it in the description. Patreon's linked in the description. So yeah, appreciate every single one of y'all. Thanks for the subs, likes, comments, tips. Thanks for the insults, the unlikes. Appreciate all y'all. If you want a response to the comment, try to get it within the first 30. I probably read the majority of the comments, but I only respond to like the first 30 or so because I can't just respond to comments 24/7. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, appreciate every single one of y'all. Hopefully this video makes sense. I'm gonna watch it and see. I'll see y'all on the next one. Probably be Sunday or Monday, I'm guessing. Everybody have a good weekend.